Maria Review. Angelina Jolie delivers a transcendent performance. NYFF. A strange thing happens when lifelong artists begin to sense the light at the end of the tunnel. Some, like Francis Ford Coppola with Megalopolis, have the freedom to go out on their own terms, guns blazing and critics be damned, with one of the most bombastic and extravagant works they've ever produced. Others, however, aren't nearly as fortunate. Time and trauma take their tolls, forcing even the greatest legends to contend with a much more complicated reality: the fact that their dreams no longer match reality. By the end, nostalgia crashes hard against resentment and triggers a deep-rooted pain directed towards the very talents that made life worth living in the first place. Spanish filmmaker Pablo Larraín isn't even close to the finish line, of course, yet in many ways, Maria feels like his most wistful and self-reflexive movie yet. After guiding both Jackie and Spencer to such high acclaim in recent years, his latest brings a stirring close to his fascination with famous women at particularly harrowing moments in their public and private lives. Even more tragic than either of his previous subjects, however, the story this time around centers on world-renowned opera singer Maria Callas during the last week of her life in 1977 Paris. The history books, tabloid hit pieces, and news reports of the time remember her final years as that of a shut-in, a cautionary tale of what happens when scandal and self-destructive vices rob the world of a one-of-a-kind celebrity far too soon. What Larraín and the perfectly cast Angelina Jolie reimagine instead is an utterly human rendering of a larger-than-life figure, which required a transcendent performance by another truly larger-than-life movie star to do her any justice whatsoever. It'd be far too reductive to draw any direct 1:1 parallels between Maria and Larraín, or even Jolie, as tempting as it might be, but it's apparent that this movie could have only been made by these specific artists at this very specific moment of their careers. Maria stands out as a fitting swan song, of sorts, by putting a bow on this spiritual trilogy of biopics, one that's every inch as soulful, heartbreaking, and beautifully contradictory as the woman herself. "The world took liberties with me," Maria Callas morosely observes early on, even as she's surrounded by the decadence that same world once so freely lavished upon her. Maria doesn't shy away from even the most mundane contradictions and ironies behind the ill-fated opera singer, though that never once undermines the genuine burden she bears. In fact, the empathetic script from Jackie screenwriter Stephen Knight begins with its most fatalistic scene of all before flashing back to a week earlier, charting Maria's final days as she attempts one last comeback to reclaim her voice, in every sense of that phrase, and prove she's not the washed-up prima donna everyone sees her as. Whether she's doing this for her vanity, her legacy, or something else entirely is pointedly left unsaid, though not unexplored. Much like the haunted tone prevalent in both Jackie and Spencer, Maria takes the form of a ghost story in the early going. It's not just that the editing, handled by Sofia Subercaseaux, adds to the film's early unease by constantly peppering in black and white footage of Jolie's Maria in her prime alongside stylized film reels of her private life, abruptly cutting away from the present to lavish in her past triumphs on the opera stage. Cinematographer Edward Lockman's camera roves through empty hallways and gorgeously set-dressed rooms like a silent, unseen observer soaking in Maria's fallen state. This carefully established visual language is only broken on the few occasions Maria ventures outside her Parisian mansion, when she conducts television interviews with a scrawny reporter, Cody Smith-McPhee, who more than holds his own, that delve right into the turbulent psychology of the legendary singer. Then again, these are the same series of conversations that Maria herself, suffering from an addiction to Mandrax pills, readily admits might not be exactly what they seem. Impressively, the film's blurring between fact, fiction, and fantasy with these visions makes room for surprising amounts of humor. Larraín has rarely been funnier or more sarcastic than he is here, packing in visual punchlines, snappy running gags, and witty barbs of dialogue, most of which are delivered by Maria's only two companions, her long-suffering butler Ferruccio, Pier Francesco Favino, and her household maid Bruna, Alba Rohrwacher. Together, they ground Maria's epic emotional journey in something real, quietly giving Maria permission to wrestle with her identity as Maria, not the suffocating La Divina, the Divine One moniker that the public crowned her as.